Welcome to the webinar. So, demonstrating the impact of BRM to executives. Let's first do a quick introduction of who we are. Lead the Pack Consulting is a leadership coaching and education company. We are focused on business relationship management, and the two partners are myself, Peter Leinse, and Elke Schrijver. We do a lot of different courses, certification courses, workshops, and we've wrote several books now. Leading with Impact, that was more than a year ago now already, and then also Leading with BRM, which we did last year. That comes also with a card deck that helps you to improve your BRM capability. The hexagon effect is set to be published in, I think, April. We're getting there, so I'm hoping to actually see that coming out. That is a little bit of a different book. That is actually more, it's a business novel, so it's a story, and it was fun to write. We'll see how people actually enjoy that. So what I'm going to do is, of course, talking about demonstrating the value of and impact of business relationship management to executives. And we quite often actually talk about, okay, you need to lead with impact. You need to focus on what is the impact on what I'm doing. And a lot of business relationship managers are kind of struggling with that. And that also comes back from something that I normally talk about, is the fact is that BRM is not the most important part. Business relationship management is a means to an end. And what does that mean? That is, we are actually looking for collaboration in the organization, people working well together to get results. And in the end, it is about results. So when we look at everything we do, we always focus on, yes, relationship management is important. It is a way to actually get to that collaboration. It's a way to actually get to the impact and the results. For me, this is, I think, one of the key parts to recognize that a lot of organizations will sometimes struggle a little bit around what is business relationship management, find it difficult to quantify it, and that's because we're looking at the tool to get to the results. And that's what we need to keep in mind. Now, to give you a bit of an idea how we see that and how we actually work through that, is that organizations will have business capabilities. Yeah, business capabilities, meaning we possess a range of core capabilities that enable organizations to execute their business strategy and create value. And that's where your results are coming from. Now, any organization understands that their leaders need to have certain capabilities, the collective skills and competencies of the leaders in the organization. Now, if we now start to look at BRM and business relationship management as a capability of the organization, and we need to make sure that we have the core capability of creating a relationship-centered organization. We need to make sure that we have a way to cultivate, maintain, and enhance relationships, because it has been shown that positive relationships drive great value. So that's something we need to have in place. Now, at the intersection of these two, we see here the BRM leadership capability. For an organization to effectively implement and benefit from a BRM capability, all leaders, and I really mean all leaders, must possess that understanding of how to build relationships. This is an kind of combination of business, leadership, and BRM capability. But if your leaders in your organization do not understand how to build relationships, it becomes really a challenge. Now, let's start with something that this can become very complex. But I want to start with something that I hear a lot, and that is management questions the value of business relationship management. Now, based on what I've just said, it's often an indication of a lack of understanding of the importance of relationship management competencies for leaders. We don't recognize that, or, and that is worse actually, points to a deeper organizational dysfunction that prioritizes products and systems over human relationships. I've seen this in organizations where it's like, yeah, it's great, all those people stuff, etc. But in the end, it's about tools and products we want to talk about. And I think that dysfunction in organizations, not focusing on the people element, significantly also influences the role of business relationship management or the capability in the organization, because people don't see it as something that is important. So keep that in mind, that sometimes your organization is not really understanding the people element. Sometimes your organization doesn't see that relationship management is wider than just a couple of people in the organization that have been assigned to do that. It is for any leader, and that's, I think, the key part. Now, doesn't matter which situation you're in, if they don't understand the relationship management competencies, or if they just only focus on products and systems, you still have to show the value. And that is what I'm going to look at here in this webinar, basically, to look a little bit around, okay, how can you do that? There's lots of different ways of doing that, but I wanted to focus on 6 key elements that help us to be able to say, hey, and this is why relationship management is helping the organization to achieve its results. So, demonstrating the value of business relationship management. There's different perspectives. Yeah, there's definitely the business relationship management leader's perspective. So I'm using here the term BRM leader. We have the tendency to do that just to expand it beyond just a business relationship manager role. It's sometimes we take too narrow of a view, and we don't really look wider to the overall organization. So that's why we quite often use the term BRM leader. That means any leader that needs to have business relationship management skills to be able to do their work, and which is nearly any leader, to be honest. Now, a BRM leader's perspective might be, I want to have a tool to track progress. I want to report on my successes, communicate the indirect benefits of the work I'm doing, and how it resonates with the partners I'm actually working with in the organization. That's one side. Now, the executive perspective, that serves more from a perspective of, I want to know what business relationship management is doing in the organization. How does it get me my results? And we see here 2 different perspectives that create frustration sometimes. It sometimes creates an indifference. Sometimes executives have, I have no clue what they're doing, just ignore them, yeah? They're apparently doing something, but I don't know what, yeah? So that's that indifference is even worse, because that doesn't last long for a lot of BRM teams specifically. Insecurity, and that creates a very fragile organization. Or a fragile situation basically for the organization. Why? Because if we don't really see what the value is, it's easy then to say, why are we even doing it? Yeah, so maybe that is something we need to take away from the organization. So one of the challenges that we see with demonstrating value of BRM is that the different perspectives, the challenge of maybe not always understanding how relationship management can help to drive results, but we're also flying blind. And I specifically use the term flying blind because I want to use something out of the airline industry, and that specifically is around dashboards to navigate. Now, an airplane, you can fly on vision to a certain extent. And that's how it of course started. But eventually we started to realize that in flying that you needed to have a dashboard that you can fly on your instruments, especially when visibility is limited, because your brain actually and your whole brain is not always good at knowing where you are. And that's what they found very quickly when you fly in bad visibility, that you think you're going straight, but you're not. Yeah, so that's one of the challenges. Now, how did airline industry actually, or aircraft manufacturers figured it out? They had something like, okay, we need to have certain instruments to be able to fly. Yeah, so to be able to actually focus on, hey, this is where we need to go. And being able to totally depend on those instruments, yeah, without vision, basically. And I think that's a nice part of business relationship management sometimes as well. We need to be able to show through a dashboard that we are flying in the right direction, yeah, that we're doing the right things. Yeah. So how is this done within the aviation industry? Very simple. They have a very standard thing, which is the six-pack of aviation. You have altitude, you have turn coordinators, and to be honest, I don't fly and I have no clue about all of these kind of things, but I do like the fact is that it has six very specific measurements on my dashboard, so I know where I need to go. Yeah, and I can trust that. I can trust that we're doing the right things. So based on that, we decided to look at, okay, what happens if you actually do this for business relationship management? And business relationship management is a leadership capability. And this is what we call the six-pack of BRM. Strategic convergence, you can say it's a heading coordinator. It measures how well we're actually aligning ourselves with organizational goals, with everything we do, so how the collaboration is driving towards certain goals. We have innovation and value creation, that could be airspeed, for instance. Partnership health, how are we doing? Artificial horizon is that's called in aviation, I think. But it's what is the health? Yeah, how are we doing? Relative to the ground, yeah, relative to what we said we were going to do. We might have an engagement level, an altimeter or altitude. So where are we and how much engagement do we have? We have a turn coordinator, which is behavioral change, quite often around, okay, how is our behavioral change actually helping us to achieve organizational conditions? And then learning and adaptation and development is vertical speed indicator. So learning and development is quite often, okay, how can we get further? Now, if I start to use this as a dashboard, I can start to look through each of these. So strategic convergence, for me, this is collaboration to get to results, collaboration to get to goals. And we somehow need to be able to demonstrate this through impact stories, making sure that we can highlight the role of relationship management in those initiatives directly influencing that organizational outcomes. Now, we have as written down in our Leading with Impact book, we use an impact canvas. An impact canvas basically is these 5 areas. Yeah, I have context and strategy, which means those are my goals, those are the things I'm trying to achieve, and this is where I want to get to. I need to have some situational awareness, so I need to be able to observe what those goals are, I need to orient myself, and then the initiatives. Now, when you start thinking about this, I can do this for projects, I can do this for initiatives, I can do this for a lot of things, but I can also do this from a business relationship management perspective. What kind of initiatives do I take to improve relationships that have a direct outcome, either with helping, for instance, groups to improve their knowledge? Yeah, I can bring groups together so that they start communicating, so that they're starting to get better knowledge. Maybe I can improve their behavior, yeah, the way we actually work in a way, or the organizational conditions. A direct effect on that, for instance, is I've built a collaborative environment and now everyone is focused on purpose and goals, and therefore we're actually getting to where we needed to be. Those outcomes directly impact our context and strategy. Yeah. So if I start to think about impact stories around that collaboration, around that the outcomes I want to get from relationship management, I can show the importance of relationship management to the organization. And I think this is one of the measurements, yeah. And it might just be stories. It doesn't have to be a measurement like a dial or something like that. No, I can see certain things that I need to have in place, and I might have to describe it. Yeah, and that is something that we need to do. We need to take credit for how relationship management helped us to achieve our goals. Now let's go to the next one, which is innovation and value creation. Very closely related, of course. Yeah, these things are not like, okay, we have one for strategic convergence and then we have one for innovation and value creation. These things are very closely related. Now in this case, and I see a lot of business relationship managers doing this, we have dashboards of initiatives. We might have strategic new capabilities that we're working on for this business group. We might improve current capabilities. There might be some risk mitigation and stability activities, and all of these things need to take into account. Now, often that is part of your portfolio management, is part of your driving your improvements in the organization, and that can be done through portfolio management, for instance, as well. But when I look at it, future looking and innovation quite often is not visible within the portfolio side. So what we need to do is business relationship management, and someone who is focused on relationship management, you want to discuss these 4 areas: the initiatives within the relationships, yeah, the key initiatives, the key strategic ones, the future looking ones. What are we going to go? Where are we looking for some improving of some current things, and also things where we need to do right now, maintenance, risk mitigation, etc. Again, your involvement from a business relationship management perspective is key here. There are certain things you're doing within the relationship that is important for you to drive and to show and to demonstrate to executives. I am working on capturing all these capabilities, this dashboard, and I want to make sure that I clearly drive towards this new value and impact, and within the relationship management that I do, I help the organization to move towards that. So, strategic convergence is way more focused on, okay, well, what do we do, impact stories to get to results? This is more around in all the different things that are going on in the innovation and the value creation side. What was the role of relationship management? What impact did we have for that? And that could be as simple as actually showing this dashboard to executives, because sometimes we don't have that. And sometimes it's just a matter of, look, this is the dashboard, this is what this group is working on, and this is the impact they're going to have. Yeah. So again, different ways of actually showing them. Which gets me to partnership health. Partnership health is it can be a health score. You can use something like Net Promoter Score or regular assessments, indicating trust. There's lots of different ways of doing that. That could be how the experience is. And the experience basically then could sometimes actually be captured, for instance, in a Net Promoter Score or something like that. It can be focused basically on relationships, of course. It doesn't have to be, but it needs to have, again, that impact. Now, a partnership health score can be a lot of different things. Now, some of you might say, well, isn't that the relationship maturity, for instance? We have a relationship maturity model and we'll use that as an indication of where we are. On a regular basis, I actually put videos out, and the one this week was around that relationship maturity assessments, relationship maturity model itself, the whole ad hoc order takers, service provider, trusted advisor, strategic partnership. Although a great dialogue regarding where you want to be, where you are right now, what you need to do, etc., it also has a limited perspective. I don't think everything can be or should be on strategic partnership. I think context is driving differences in there. Plus you can switch between things in a very quick way. So for me, although relationship maturity and where you are in that relationship maturity model can help you a little bit with the dialogue, I find when we eventually need to start to look at what business relationship management is doing is focusing on that collaboration to results and how the partners actually see this. How the groups possibly say, yes, I want to do this, or I get the feedback and I see this. In the end, it doesn't matter anymore if we're a strategic partner or order taker. I mean, we can be happy with McDonald's, which is an order taker. I can also be happy with a high-end restaurant where the chef actually comes to your table and makes something next to you, etc., to your specifications. There's different experiences, and at certain moments in time, we have different experiences. So we need to make sure that our health score is way more focused on experience assurance initiatives, and knowing basically that experience is going to be important and that what that impact is to the organization. Now, that relates directly to engagement level. Now, and here is where you see a little bit of a further development of that. Clarifying the value of my relationship networks. Capture your relationship network. Yeah? Make sure that your relationship network is clear what you're actually going to do within that. And that means that, for instance, and you see this in the image here, it might be for customers very clear that sales and operations in your organization need to have a collaborative partnership because there's all different kind of challenges within that. But if I look at an enterprise IT group that is IT access, I might just do it as a very transactional relationship, because just do this, do that, get people access, onboarding, offboarding, etc. might be sufficient. So again, we start seeing that everything works together though, because if that person in HR doesn't get IT access or for an operations person, then we might affect our results. So in a way you can say everything needs to work together and it's collaborative, but some interactions within our different business groups might be sufficient to just say it's transactional. Now we need to have those engagement metrics. We need to be able to show those. They're crucial sometimes. We need to understand what our relationship network is, and based on that we can build our relationship capital. We can understand how we build it out if we're talking to the right people. Yeah, I always say it's easy to talk to the people you like. It's not easy to talk to the people that you maybe do not really like or find difficult to connect with. And those could be the most important people to actually work with. So we need to be very careful that we don't miss out on opportunities based on that our relationship network is not clear and that we don't know who to work with. Now again, from an executive perspective, I don't care how your relationship network looks like. I want to see the results of this. I want to know why you're actually talking to all these different groups and what that result is. And I think that is the key part. How do I as an executive feel about this? So again, relationship networks, although important maybe from a dashboarding perspective for business relationship management itself, for the organization, it's about getting the collaboration going between the different groups in a way that is the most efficient and effective. Impactful relationship networks. That's the key part. Now we get to the the fifth one. Organizational behavior change is important. Behavior drives results. Yeah, they're linked. If I do certain things, I will get a result out of that. Might not be the result I want, but it's a result. Hopefully we have desired behavior very clearly defined so that we can have the right results. Now we need to have an indication how that behavioral change, that organizational behavior change, actually provides insight in for ourselves on how that is actually getting a direct influence on our culture and a direct influence on our results. So what you might have in this case is a set of, for instance, behavioral themes that are addressed through business relationship management. And what I normally use for that as an example, for instance, is we hear in our discussions within the relationships that we have in our relationship network, we hear certain things that people are not taking the right actions. So then the question, of course, becomes, okay, how can we change that? And the behavioral themes that we put in place for improvement to get to our results can be captured here. These are some of the things we absolutely need to work on. Yeah, I quite often talk about as part of the trust is there's one element in there. There's logic in there and authenticity, but there is also empathy in there. And we've heard business relationship managers have heard this specific comment from business partners. It doesn't look like that other group has empathy. And empathy is something that you need to start thinking about. Okay, how do I do that? Yeah, how do I focus on that? So, a behavioral theme like, for instance, let's use IT as an example. IT doesn't have empathy. Okay, what are we going to do to be able to create that? Now, empathy is just maybe the symptom and something that we use as a word, but we need to translate it then in very clear actions. What are we going to do? What steps are we going to do to be able to do that? And for me, I think that is something you can start to work on. Now, sometimes that behavioral theme can be a process improvement action. Yeah, I don't like to do this. I normally like to talk about behavior, but I also recognize that people find it easier to, for instance, talk about we're doing these type of workflow improvements that drives a certain behavior that can then help us to further develop that. And I think that is one of the key elements here is to ensuring that we make it measurable, an active behavior, controllable, reliable, and observable. Okay, a couple of things around that. We quite often use that to define behavior. I want to focus on two things here. So that new behavior, the new way we work, yeah, as a standard. So we always communicate, for instance, within 2 days. Yeah, I've seen organizations actually do that. Okay, that's great. That is active. I can see it. It's measurable. I can see if it actually is being done. But I also can start to see observable as with other people. People can demonstrate it. Yeah, this is how you do that. This is how you communicate that. A lot of these things we can use. Yeah, and it's behavioral elements. The themes can be very wide. To be honest, there's things like that end up in more in the behavior side, and that is something that we need to focus on continuously, measuring that behavior in a way that people say, yes, that's what we need to do. Now, there's lots of different examples that we can measure intangibles, we can measure behavior, we can make it active. It is work. There's quite often a lot of work involved in that, but I want to come back to desired behavior. When we see that, it directly drives the results. Yeah, behavior results. That's a constant thing. And I think that's why it's so important to drive that behavior clear in the organization in a way that it's clearly defined. Yeah, so those are some of the behavioral themes we normally focus on, but it depends per organization. The last one is learning and development. A lot of business relationship management leaders and anyone who is actually working on relationship management capability in an organization quickly realizes that we need to make sure that people learn from its relationship management experiences and that we adjust, that we further develop this. For me, a lot of these type of things are ways to look at what do I need to focus on. And if I want to focus on business relationship management and the learning and development in its own capability, how I improve my BRM capability in my organization, I need to link that back to results. So this is just an example. This is what we use with card deck, etc., which is defined in the Leading with BRM book. You basically start with the results. You say, hey, I have a certain market competitiveness I have that I need to have. I need to have a certain agility. And based on that, we can say, well, we need to cultivate relationships, and specifically we need to observe and assess those relationships and improve them. But we also need to be able to understand on an ongoing basis reporting and communication, driving value, and we might need to find some things in evolving culture, etc. Again, we can start building a heat map for our BRM capability of all the different elements that we have. This is just a selection of it. The model itself has 24 different activities. And for me, that is a key part. Which areas of business relationship management do we need to further improve? Yeah, and can we show that we improved in that we have better information around that we included more people in it, that we have developed new how-to guides or new ways of actually thinking within certain areas that significantly drove results. That's what we're going to look for. Now, if I look at these six, this six-pack of BRM, I now, of course, need to start figuring out, okay, what do I do? What story do you need to tell? And I think this is, you might not be able to do everything. Yeah, there's certain things that are more difficult, certain things that are maybe a little bit easier. Sometimes it's easier to actually start with dashboard, for instance, than with some other things. So I find people are struggling with behavior, and we can talk about that at the end a little bit more. But for me, what story do you need to tell? If I look at it from a BRM perspective, I quite often hear people say, I want to focus on innovation and value creation because I want to have a portfolio and a clear impact of what we're working on. I want to have some partnership health, whatever I do there. Yeah, that can be starting with maybe some relationship maturity, but maybe experience assurance initiatives or audits, etc. Partnership health, I can show that. And then, of course, engagement level. Who do I talk to? Yeah, all of those kind of things. And do I have my relationship network in place? Do I have everyone where I need to be? And then I have something like, okay, that's great. That's great for you. Yeah, that's part of it. That helps you to move forward, to improve maybe your own capabilities, etc. I can work on the innovation, which is fun, and it's great, and it helps the organization, and I have partnership health and actually do that. Now, what do your executive want to hear? That's the question. Because out of those six, they might say, I'm not so interested in some of these. What are they interested in? They want to focus on convergence to strategic objectives. They want to see how you collaborate in such a way that it has an impact, a direct impact on their goals, objectives, and very clearly defined. Yeah, so they want to see we're doing this initiative in relationship management that drives this organizational objectives. Yeah, that creates more knowledge or collaboration, that drives a different way of working, and that gets me as an executive these very clear results that I'm looking for. You have to show it to that level. That's what they're looking for. So they want to show the results, and they want to see, even from relationship management, what is the change in organizational conditions. Economic, yeah, so the financial side, but also the efficiency side, faster to market, all of those kind of things. That's what they want to hear. So if you're in healthcare, it's maybe linked directly to patient care. So can you link what you do directly to patient care? If you're in a university, it might be like, can you link the activities you do from a relationship perspective directly to better research or faster results in research? If you're in manufacturing, can you help sales? Can you help operations? All of those kind of things, that's what they want to hear. So link your relationship elements to that. So they're way more interested in the strategic convergence. They're way more interested in the results you get from, for instance, behavioral change. They're way more interested in partnership health, etc. But it has to resonate for them. And that's why we actually came up with that six-pack. Is it complete? Maybe not. Yeah, maybe you need some other measurements possibly as well. But the fact is that if it's a one-pager where you say, hey, these are the things I'm doing in these areas, executives will look at it, okay, I get results from that, I get results from that. That's what I'm looking for. Yeah. And this is important. Don't talk to your executives about business relationship management necessarily. Talk to them about results. Talk to them about collaboration that is required to results. When we talk to executives, we often try not to spend too much time on why business relationship management or what is business relationship management. They want to know, how can I get better results? And one of the things is what they immediately understand is collaboration. Yeah, we need to collaborate to be able to get those results. They get that. Now that I use business relationship management to generate that collaboration, that is the way to get to. So when we look at business relationship management, not a goal, it's a pathway. Yeah, it's a journey. Ultimately, it's about collaboration that drives result. So when you demonstrate BRM's value and impact where it matters most by influencing the conditions that shape the organization's success, and anything you do, any action you take from a relationship perspective, make sure you can link that to value and impact that drives the results.